Let's see. Hey everyone, my name is Matt Lange. I'm here with eXp Realty, and I just want to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. Um, I think it'll be very beneficial for y'all, and y'all get a lot out of it, and just kind of to understand the process and how everything works. Kind of ease a lot of tension for you in your thoughts and in your mind. I just want to thank my good friend Russ. Russ is here with me. He's going to come walk us through kind of his journey and of selling his property that he had, and kind of his story and the best thing about it. Russ, I appreciate you being here and doing this, and just tell everyone just a little bit about yourself, and then just kind of the process when we first meeting, and kind of we'll start there.
Okay. Hey everybody. Like you said, my name's Russ, and I recently sold a property that I had with Matt and had a great experience. I first put it on the market for sale by owner, and that's how he got acquainted with me. He saw the listing online and called me, and my experience with realtors in the past hadn't really been that good, and ended up, and he was exactly the type of person I am. He shot me straight and kind of gave me the ins and outs and the steps that I needed to go about listening with him. And it ended up, and he and I came to an agreement, and it worked out. And he listed my property, and within the first 24 hours, we already had people that were going and viewing the property. And then I guess it was within the first 48 to 72 hours, we had an offer on the property. And
that was the first 72.
Yep. And then ended up, and we closed the deal before the end of the year last year. So it worked out and everything went well.
So your time, you was trying to sell it yourself. How was that experience trying to sell it yourself?
It was a little bit difficult, only on the aspect of my time. I associated my time with a little value too, of course. And with me trying to sell it myself, and the property being out in rural West Tennessee, it took time away from my work and family too, of course, to meet all these people who supposedly wanted to view the property and see it. But then come to find out, you run into a lot of tire kickers too that I hate to say it, but that kind of ends up in waste your time. So it's a burnt run a lot of times, and ended up, I should have used Matt well before I did, but I guess I had it listed for about 2 months before I decided I was tired of doing all that myself. And then
well, that's okay. There's there's a trust issue, with people. And I'm the same way when someone's trying to, talk to me about something, I think it's human nature that we think, hey, let's just do it ourselves. Let's save the money and let's get it done. I mean, how hard could it be? You stick a sign, put it on the internet, and people will come up here and buy it. I mean, I think that's a lot of the common thinking behind it, of what's going to happen,
Yeah.
But there's a lot, like you said, your time's worth a lot of money too, and your energy and everything else, and who to deal with and who not to deal with too.
Yeah, and that's where working with Matt with real estate actually helped me out, because he was able to screen a lot of those people out by the other people that he was already working with, that already screened buyers and things like that too, where I didn't really have any experience with selling real estate other than a couple other properties in the past, and I had luckily had real estate on those, but that's been years and years ago, and this was my first time buy owner, and it ended up and worked out the best with Matt. So I would recommend, if somebody else had to do it, I'd definitely go with real estate, and I'd probably for sure recommend Matt to do it, because he's a straight shooter like I am. I was looking for somebody to be honest and open, and he did all the background and the work, and he kept me informed on what was going on in his aspect, and that's all I wanted. So it worked out and everything went well.
And what I love about you, Russ, is that you're like a numbers person, and that's what I am. I'm a numbers person. I like looking at numbers. I like thinking about numbers, and just how everything connects with everything. And I just love the analytical side of things. And you're like the same way. You're just like me on that. You're like looking at numbers and everything else. You've got spreadsheets down and everything else about the process. This is what we're going to do. This is what it looks like in the end. I mean, you were like super detailed, like when it came to closing, like, on going over all the closing costs and everything too. What's this for? What's this for? Why, why is this here? And that's what I love, because that's what I am.
Yep. I really enjoy that type of this type of business. I don't do it for a living, but I do it for fun. And on this in particular property, it ended up and worked out where I did want to sell it, and it ended up and worked out really good. Getting to know Matt as a person, and now I consider him as a friend. It's worked out pretty good. I can call him with anything; he gets right back with me. So
what would you say, like the when you're selling yourself, what's the biggest problem you had during that process?
I guess the biggest problem I had was probably visibility, with it being out in the rural West Tennessee. I got the road traffic coming by, seeing the sale sign in the yard. I posted it on Facebook, and Facebook was probably the best option that I did have, and Zillow. However, you still have limited crowd, and the crowd that you do have, unless they're using another real estate agent, they don't have their ducks in a row when they want to see your house. So that ended up being the hardest part for me. Was I ended up and introduced some really good potential buyers to some mortgage people in Lexington, that are also friends of mine, that they had no idea about getting a pre-approval process or things like that. But the visibility with the property, I guess, is what the hardest thing was for me, having it listed by owner. And as soon as Matt was able to put it on the MLS, I mean, it got in front of the right people, and I just hope they're happy with it. And I enjoyed working on it.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt they will be. Like you said, I mean, you was doing everything right. You had good pictures, description. I mean, you were doing everything right with it. You just needed the extra exposure to get it pushed out there, to get in front of the right people, to right qualified people, so they would show up. So we could attract more qualified people to come in and look at it, and that's how we was able to get the best offer. A lot of times people like what you were saying, what I heard what you were saying, and that you're getting a lot of the bargain shoppers, the people that was looking for a bargain to show up. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that's probably not the ideal customer you was looking for. It's going to give you the most amount of money for your home.
Yeah, because the majority of people I did have, make offers. They were lowball offers, and I guess they thought because it was for sale by owner that there was more negotiation room. Because other than majority of people that I showed it to were people from around the area, and I think that they didn't even see it online. They were just driving by and randomly seeing the sign, and so they didn't know how long it'd been for sale, and they just start off right off the bat trying to lowball, and that's just not something you want to do as a seller. My situation.
No. And I imagine that's pretty frustrating too when people try to just lowball you. That's all you get is lowballs and everything else from people.
Yeah, man. By the time you take off work or leave the house and come out there and meet somebody, and then that's the outcome. I mean, that's just not the ideal outcome or the situation that you want to be in.
Yep.
And with working with you, I didn't have to worry about it. It just ended up and everything went well and kind of fell in place. It kind of happened a lot faster than what I expected, to be honest. But it was a good situation, and I was happy.
Yeah. Awesome. So what would you take? So you were trying to sell it for a couple months by yourself. I think that whole time I was probably talking to you. Would you say probably 20 times during that time for them, that couple months?
Yeah.
Trying to talk to you about it, the property.
You were good about staying in touch at least once a week, just to see my experience. Because, I mean, you were obviously experienced, and you knew the time frame and intervals to how to call me, because about the time I'd start getting frustrated again, I'd get a call from you, and it was pretty funny. And that's why I started being willing to talk to you too, because you were willing to share some of your experience and your knowledge from similar situations, not identical to mine, but some of them were pretty close, I have to say.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's only a couple. Everyone's trying to set their own. There's only a couple scenarios that's always happening. They've got people are coming to look at it, but they're not really serious. They're just tire kickers, kind of wasting their time. They get lowball offers, or they're not getting any showings at all. It's kind of one of three things is always happening with them. It's just that's just the process. There's only so many variables that can happen during that. Um, so, but I always liked our call. One thing I always liked our calls because we talked about different business strategies and everything else in between. Hardly ever, rarely do we spend time just concentrating on the property itself.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, because you knew I wasn't really willing to go with real estate to start with. I had kind of, my previous experience with real estate wasn't really the best because I expect somebody to do what they tell me that they're going to do, and so if they tell me they're going to show up or give me their opinion, that's what I expect. So I don't feel like when you're going to be doing business with someone that's that difficult of a situation, and with you, it just made it easy because it ended up and you waited until I was ready to put it into real estate, and then you were willing to come out and look at it, and not even with me being willing to sign a real estate contract with you, you were still willing to come out there and give me your honest opinion, and that's what I ended up and liked about it, and that's how come you earned my business, and I appreciate that.
Yep. And the true value for a real estate agent is their advice. That's the true value, is their advice, honest and truthful advice. Because that's what's going to set you to the right path if you really do want to sell. Get
Yep.
honest feedback. So that's kind of that and communication, I think, are the two biggest things in real estate that can happen. Within when you sell a house, you're in a business partnership with the seller and the real estate agent are in a business partnership. So communication is so critical and key to that whole relationship that you should be talking very often about what's going on, the market, and do we need to do anything, or are we priced too high? Is the condition of the property something we need to look at, or what's the feedback? So communication is always critical in that, and that's one thing I always find talking to a lot of people that they've been in real estate in the past, and the communication was not missing there. They always tell me, basically the only thing that ever happened was the realtor showed up, he put a sign in the yard, took some pictures, and they never heard from him again. To the listing expired, and that was the next thing they heard. I've heard that story time and time again.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, you have it worked out too. Where you have an editing process for your photos. You have different steps that you go about to get everything. I mean, just like I would do it if I was in your situation, and that's what I liked about working with you too. Is that everything was just organized, in order. Everything happened in a timely manner. There was never any me guessing on what you were doing. And I just appreciate that. I mean, that's just all I can expect or ask for when it comes to dealing with someone in real estate.
Yep. Well, I mean, I think if you want to get duplicated results, you want to have a system that always works, that you do every single time and you can repeat it, like at this stage, this is what we do, this is what we do, this is what we do, this is what we do. And it repeats that way. It's the same no matter what, whoever you're working for, I mean, selling a house is selling a house, there's certain things that you need to do to every house to sell it for the most amount of money. And then, that's what we're looking at and be consistent with that.
Yep.
So what would
you give me your advice too, by coming in the house? We went through a checklist or two to certain things that you look for. Most of the things I had done already. And I mean, it just is, it's good not being a professional seller, I guess you would say, to have somebody just kind of walk you through those steps. I mean, it just makes things a lot easier.
Yep. It helps out a lot to have somebody to talk to and bounce ideas off of too.
Absolutely.
So what would you say kind of like the biggest lesson learned during this whole process? From getting the house ready, going through trying to sell it yourself, actually meeting me, us getting the house on the contract and getting it sold up until now this point. Does the whole last, let's say 5 months, what would you say kind of the biggest lesson learned?
To be honest, with me being the numbers guy, I look at it like I constantly think about all those dozens and dozens of trips that I took by driving out to the property, by checking on the property, by meeting people out there, getting stood up on meetings with people out there, to showing it to all these people. I think back on how much time that took out of my time, and so I guess the biggest thing I got out of it was I would with this house being in rural West Tennessee, I would have listed with you originally right off the bat rather than wasting my time trying to sell it myself. If I would, especially now that I know the process and the outcome of the situation, I mean, it just made it so much easier, and I didn't have any stress or anything. I mean, it was a good deal all the way around.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and you know, I'm just honored that you even let me give me the opportunity, you know, to help you with it. Like, you did all the hard work. I was just there to help guide you through the process.
Yeah, and I mean, like I say, you made it easy, so I appreciate it.
Yep, no problem. Well, Russ, I know this will be beneficial to all the people that watch this, and then kind of give them a ideal and probably like some ease in their thoughts too. And I appreciate you doing this and everything else, and I appreciate everyone that took the time to watch this too.
Oh, you're welcome.
You take care.
Thank you for all you've done. See you.